Dr. Harry, the Six Sigma story is just fascinating to me. But for the benefit of our listeners who may not be familiar with Six Sigma, can you explain the concept a bit?
To explain the Sigma thing as we talk so your audience knows what we're talking about when we say Sigma and stuff. Sigma is just the measure of goodness in something. So the more Sigmas, the better. If I say something is 2 Sigma, that's horrid. If I say something's 4 Sigma, that's average. If I say something is 5 or 6 Sigma, that's like world class. I mean, it don't get better than that. Now, the difference, it's like a boat. 5 feet on a boat is a lot bigger than just the linear footage of it. Well, it's kind of that way with Sigmas. If you go from 4 Sigma to 6 Sigma, that's an 1,800 times improvement in quality to get from average to absolute world class. I mean, that's a big number. So, as we kind of like continue down this thread of thinking in our story, we found out we were only 4 Sigma. And to give an example to that, the next time you get on an airplane, airline baggage handling is about 4 Sigma. The airline flight fatality rate is above 6 Sigma. Now, what that translates to in the real world is really simple. The next time you get on an airplane, you are about 1,800 times more likely to get to your destination than your bags. That's a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Now, I want you to think about that number for a minute, 1,800 times. So we started benchmarking because a lot of people just wouldn't buy the fact we had poor quality. A lot of executives, a lot of people. If you go down on the shop floor and ask people, do you do a quality job, what's everybody going to tell you?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we're the best. We're careful. We do everything we can. We all care about quality. But the reality is everybody's that way. And the reality is the typical company is about 4 Sigma. So now we realize this through our benchmarking studies, that if we didn't make this 1,800 times improvement, in about 5 years, we were going to go broke as a company. We didn't have 50 years to practice TQM and continuous improvement. We needed breakthrough. The Japanese had 50 years with Dr. Deming going over there to absorb that and make slow, gradual change from where product, remember the cars from the 70s? If it was from Japan, it was like, junk. Made in Japan equals junk. And what's the image today?
Top of the line.
It's top of the line. It took them 50 years to make that transition. We didn't have 50 years. We only had 5 years or go broke. So then the question becomes, okay, when people saw the benchmarking data and finally realized, what do you think the next logical question out of their mouth was? How are we going to do this? This is like an OMG event. You mean we've got to improve by a factor of 1,800 in 5 years? See, we're used to quality improvement goals like they are in most average companies, like improve 5% a year, 10% a year. No, we had to let me tell you what that translates to. That translates to making a 78% improvement every year compounded for 5 years. That breaks down to about 12% a month. So you've got to reduce your defect rate in everything you do, in all of your core processes in your business, by 12% every single month for 60 months to go from 4 Sigma, which is average, to 6 Sigma, which is world class. Well, we brought in all the top quality experts in the world, and we just couldn't get satisfactory answers of how we're going to do this. And that's when we realized that we had to redesign, that if we're going to achieve that level of quality, we need to rethink the way in which we get the work done. So we need to rethink our processes and our product designs and how they interplay to come together and design out the opportunity for a defect ever occurring through design. And that's when Bill and I started to work on a program called Design for Manufacturability, which has now become known as Design for Six Sigma. So as kind of this story goes, it kind of kept rolling along. And, of course, the first reaction that people had when we took it out into the company was to say, okay, we're expecting you to make an 1,800 times improvement, was either get the hell out of my office or what have you been smoking and inhaling? That's insane. Nobody's ever done that. That's impossible. Well, of course, today we know it's very possible. Many companies have done it. But, the first person was a big deal when they broke the 4-minute mile running, right?
Right.
Prior to that, they said it was impossible for a human being to do that. Well, as soon as somebody busts that barrier, then a whole bunch of people start running the mile in under 4 minutes. Well, it's the same way when we busted the barrier in quality within the company and showed that you could do it. And our example was the little pager we made. Remember them little black things we'd hang on our belts?
I had one.
You had one. Well, I want to give you some facts on that. We competed at that time, I don't know, around 15, 20 different pager manufacturers, most of them Japanese, and we couldn't compete anymore. So we did a clean paper factory. We did not design in any inspection or test. If it was bad, we threw it away. Now, we took the order entry to shipment time for that pager from around 47, 48 days to under 1 hour.
Wow.
You could pick up the phone, order a pager, and it'd be shipped in an hour. And if it ever broke on you, we didn't repair it. We just threw it away because our quality was so good, it made no sense having all these repair centers. Well, the next thing you know is we started getting better quality. These repair centers started going away. We realized then that if we could achieve this Six Sigma thing, we can not only recover economically, we can become one of the best companies in the world. And people started buying in as we took that message to our internal people. And it was a hard sell, let me tell you, not having any done it before. Anytime you introduce something new and radical, what do people do? The first thing they do is they want to deny they're really average. Then they want to deny how much improvement has to be made. And then they want to tell you it's impossible to do. So we had a lot of barriers to overcome. And that was kind of sidebar things that Bill and I did, was going around convincing a lot of our business leaders and business units, with Bob's support, we got to make this change and we got to do it now. Well, finally, as a company, we all started getting together on the same page. Then it hit us that all we got is a goal. And our goal of Six Sigma was no more than about 3, specifically 3.4, but we'll just say 3 defects out of every million opportunities for a defect. Well, you say, well, what's an opportunity? Well, let me put it in layman's terms. Let's say you're trying to lose weight. Every time you open up that refrigerator door, that's an opportunity to gain weight. And if you reach in there and pull out a diet food, that's good. But if you reach in there and pull out some high-carb, high-sugar thing, that's a defect. So every time you open up that refrigerator door, that's an opportunity to mess up. So here's what it translates to. If you're going to be on a diet and you hit that refrigerator door 1 million times, only 3 out of the million will you choose to pull out something bad. That's pretty difficult. Imagine that if you set that down to arguing with your spouse. Every time you have an encounter, how many encounters do you suppose you have with your spouse in a lifetime? Sure, under 1 million.
Yeah, quite a bit.
But basically that would be to say if you're Six Sigma with your spouse and arguing, you're only going to have one argument out of every about 250,000 arguments.
You don't know my wife.
Yeah. I got to tell you, like my wife says, honey, you may teach Six Sigma, you may do Six Sigma, but this house around here is probably about 2 Sigma.
Yeah.
By the way, that's where phone-in Internal Revenue Service tax advice was. 2 Sigma. Let me give you another scary one in this story. I started benchmarking the medical industry back then, and I found out that ER room is 3.4 Sigma.
Wow.
And a depression misdiagnosis is 2 Sigma. Doctor prescription writing errors is 4 Sigma. So the chances of you getting a bad prescription that can make you sick or something is about the same odds of ever losing your bags. Now, have you ever been to an airport and lost your bags before, either one of you?
Yep.
See, that's proof right there.
Yeah.
It's pretty serious, the difference there. So anyway, we started finally accepting it, and all we had was this target to achieve Six Sigma. And then we had Bill come up with the 6 steps to Six Sigma, and that's all we had in the beginning. And then I kind of realized that we kind of needed more than that.
Attention, all Lean Sigma, continuous improvement, and operational excellence thought leaders, learners, and practitioners. We want you to be a guest on Frank D's Lean Freak Show. If you are in the private sector or public sector, manufacturing, education, healthcare, retail, government, real estate, insurance, or any other sector or industry, and you have a story, a project success, or a specific knowledge that you would like to showcase to our listening audience, we would like to speak to you. So if you would like to be considered for a guest spot on a future Lean Freak Show episode, email us at leanfreakshow@gmail.com. Again, that's leanfreakshow@gmail.com.